Well, the US Secretary of State reaffirmed American support for Israel and, as you say, for the two-state solution, although there's absolutely no sign of any movement towards that becoming a reality. In fact, quite the opposite. But this is not a diplomatic push towards a resolution of this conflict. At best, it's something of a push to prevent an already bad situation getting even worse. But some of the young Palestinian men I've been speaking to talk of the possibility of a third intifada erupting.
Jerusalem is a city on edge. Anger on both sides is rising, following days of deadly violence. At the funeral of the youngest victim of Friday's shooting, tears and prayers. If only he could have had one more kiss from his mother, another hug from his dad, his father cries. 14-year-old Asher Natan was shot dead outside a synagogue, along with 6 others. The attack was the deadliest on Israelis in more than 10 years. Many of those burying Asher on the Mount of Olives cemetery want to see a harsh response. His friends believe even the new hardline government hasn't been tough enough.
If we look at the Arab population in Israel, we see most are not loyal to Israel. They support terrorism, so we think they should be deported.
Do you feel that young Israelis like yourselves are becoming more and more right-wing, even more right-wing than the current government that's in place right now?
The current reality pushes us to the right. We live here and can see what is happening around us.
Violence has already been spiralling in the occupied West Bank over the past year, and more than 30 Palestinians have been killed this month already, both militants and civilians. In East Jerusalem, bulldozers have been moving in. The Palestinian homes they're destroying aren't linked to the recent attacks, but in an apparently vindictive act. In the aftermath, far-right politicians have pressed for the increased demolition of houses they say were illegally constructed.
It's things like this that fuel Palestinian anger. Israel says it's demolishing homes without proper permissions, but local residents say it's basically impossible to get those proper permissions, and they're being pushed off their own land.
Searching through the rubble for her toys, 4-year-old Mira. My daughter lived here. She paid for every stone to build it, this woman tells us. The house of the gunman responsible for the shooting at the synagogue will also be demolished. These are Israeli forces sealing the doors shut. Their response to the attack has been to intensify reprisal measures against the families of attackers. Palestinians say it will only inflame tensions. But many in Israel want the government to go even further. A new law would revoke the residence permits of the relatives of militants.
People that are backing terror and pushing for terror are part of terror, okay? You don't have to only pull the gun. If you get up on TV and you say, this is a thing of a hero, that's something that has to be responded.
And do you think you'll really be able to push that through? Because that will be deeply controversial. There'll be many around the world who would say that that's an unacceptable form of collective punishment.
It's unacceptable for us to let our children to be slaughtered in the streets. That's unacceptable.
Young Palestinians using stones and fireworks have been facing off against Israeli forces. Israeli settlers have attacked Palestinian homes. Positions on both sides are hardening, and more bloodshed seems inevitable.
Well, tensions have been rising in the region too, following a series of drone strikes on an Iranian military facility near the city of Isfahan. No official claim of responsibility, but it's widely assumed that Israel was behind those strikes. They've repeatedly targeted Iran's nuclear program in the past. These latest strikes in Isfahan, according to reports here, were targeting a facility producing the drones that Russia has been using in Ukraine. We'll have to wait and see if there's any Iranian military response now.
Indeed. Sikandar in Jerusalem, thanks very much indeed.